Hello guys, Solitaire Gamer here, and today I'll be reviewing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. This is where so many anime memes and references began. It is a very popular anime series with a very passionate fan base that cares about it a lot. The fan base was made it so popular considering all it had was a manga and an OVA series at first. It didn't have a proper anime adaptation until 2012. The word of mouth about how good the manga was got people to give the show a try. It was the manliest anime I had ever seen with bulky characters with big muscles. What could be cooler than seeing bulky characters fight each other to the death? Not only that, but it had characters make funny poses and say funny iconic lines. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure consists of two parts, each having a different main character. In part 1, JoJo is living a happy life with his father until one day Dio Brando arrives at his home and wants to be taken into the Joestar's home. JoJo's father agrees to this because Dio's father saved him years ago. Dio proceeds to make JoJo's life a living nightmare. Later in the show, Dio turns to a vampire and wants to take over the world. It is up to JoJo to stop him. In part 2, the main character is now JoJo's grandson, Joseph. Joseph is called JoJo as well, but I will call him Joseph in this video so that it doesn't get confusing. Certain people, called Pillarmen, begin to rise from stone, and Joseph must stop the Pillarmen and their leader Cars from taking over the world. What made the show so appealing to watch were the cool characters and the well-animated fights. Dio is one of the most sinister villains I've ever seen, and I love it. He will do whatever it takes to gain money and power. He even poisoned George Joestar, the man who took him in, and treated him like a son. Dio only cares about himself. He isn't as powerful as Frieza from Dragon Ball Z, but I would argue that he's just as evil as him. He will kill anyone in his way. He is an amazing villain because he gets the viewers to really hate him and want the main character JoJo to kill him. People talk about him more than the actual main character JoJo. JoJo was just not as entertaining as Dio. I would say that Dio is like the Joker from The Dark Knight in that people want to see the villain more than the protagonist. JoJo was one of those nice main characters. His personality is similar to Izuku from My Hero Academia. He is kind towards everyone in his life except for Dio, because Dio did awful things to him. JoJo wants to protect the most important people in his life, and always seems to rise to the occasion against all odds. I like the fact that he was one of those characters who never gave up despite the odds, but he was the most boring main character to me out of all the parts in JoJo. His personality was so boring. I hate generic, nice main characters. He didn't have anything special to his personality. I found Joseph in part 2 to be more entertaining. He was really funny during battles with some of the things he was saying towards his opponents. No matter how dire a situation may be, he was always relaxed and having fun. His personality reminded me a bit of Spider-Man in terms of being funny during intense battles. He was the funniest protagonist I ever seen in a shonen anime. The way he kept predicting his opponent's lines was funny as well. This is the type of main character I want to see, someone talkative and funny. Cars was an entertaining character in terms of how powerful he was during battles. He was like an all-powerful character with all the powers that every person or creature had on Earth. He had no weaknesses and was immortal. This made for an entertaining scenario because it made it so satisfying when Joseph won a fight against an all-powerful being like that. In terms of personality though, he was boring. He didn't show emotions until Joseph started to beat him up. The fights JoJo had against Dio in part 1 were really intense. What made it so good was the fact that there was so much emotion during the fights. Dio hated JoJo because he was the only person to really stand up to him and stand in his way to gain power. JoJo hated Dio for everything he did to him during their childhood and up to now. It made the fight so entertaining because you knew there wasn't going to be a friendship speech at the end where JoJo tries to turn Dio into a good guy. He was going to show Dio no mercy. I really like seeing the use of Hamen in the fights. Hamen is basically energy. There are so many creative ways they could use Hamen. It wasn't like a simple energy blast. This is what made the fights entertaining, as JoJo had to find creative ways to use Hamen when Dio was trying to stop JoJo from using it. It wasn't as simple as JoJo just blasting Hamen against Dio at the last moment. The fights look really nice as the characters move really smoothly during the fights. There's no derpy faces or choppy movements. The fights in part 2 were just as good, as the Pillarmen were almost invincible to everything. At least JoJo was doing damage against Dio at times. At the start of part 2 though, Joseph did barely any damage to the Pillarmen, as their bodies were invincible. He had to use Hamen in really creative ways to get past their defenses. In part 1, it was kinda simple. Make sure Dio doesn't freeze your body and stop your use of Hamen. In part 2 though, it was a whole nother story, because Hamen was just not working at all. Joseph had to make ways to conduct Hamen into the enemy's bodies, and that was no easy task. I really like seeing Cars as the main villain, because his power is basically he could use the creatures on Earth and Earth itself as a weapon. He made killer swirls. That part had me laughing so much. Both the opening to part 1 and part 2 were great. The endings were okay, but I just skipped them after watching them in the first episode because they weren't that pleasing to listen to. The music was great during the episodes, it got me excited for the fights. The art and animation style for part 1 and 2 was quite unique. It was unlike the common animation style you see in anime. I actually like it because it was so different. But some people may not give this anime a chance because of it. It looks so different compared to the animation style in other shows. I will say though that I highly recommend not dropping the anime just because of the animation style. You will miss out on entertaining characters and fights. The animation for the fights was just amazing. No animation errors that I could see. This is one of the best shonen fighting anime out there. I highly recommend watching the show because of the cool characters, the amazing fights, and the fact that there are so many anime references about it in so many different shows. I give this anime a 9 out of 10. So that's all I want to talk about for today. Thank you for watching this video. Have a great day or night wherever you are. And please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And please comment if you found anything interesting in the video.